Screen's not on. Is your screen on?
Plugs out.
What?
Plugs out.
Oh, jeez.
Just 1 second. Is that no power?
That screen.
So this, we had to replace the power for that, to plug this in. We need the mic too, probably
Pardon
need the
me?
mic.
Yeah, the. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Parks, Recreation and Leisure Activities Committee meeting, special meeting today, October the 7th, year 2024, 12 o'clock p.m. Meetings hosted at the Charlottetown Chamber office here at City Hall, the Chambers. And it's also streamlined, www.charlottetown.ca. Order of business, call the meeting to order. Item 2, declarations of conflict of interest.
None.
None? Okay, thank you. Approval of agenda.
Moved.
Your worship, or Chair Tweel, just one comment that is in the special meeting. It's actually the regular meeting. I realized that didn't get removed.
Okay, thank you for the
Yeah,
clarification.
so we'll just- when
Let
we're approving the
record show
agenda.
that it's not a special meeting, it's our regular monthly meeting for the Parks Committee meeting. So if we can strike that from the records, thank you. Okay. Is that okay, Frank?
Yeah, now the approval of the agenda.
Okay, we'll try it again. Approval of the agenda.
Moved.
Second, adoption of the minutes.
Moved.
Business arising from the minutes. Okay, we're going to, we have a lengthy agenda today. So we're going to get right to it. Our reports are as follows. Report A, resolution to award the RFP for the shortcut boardwalk connection from Brighton Road to Terry Fox Drive. So Frank, I'm not sure, okay, I guess you're gonna take the lead on that. Frank Quinn, our manager, go ahead, Frank.
Okay, thank you, Chair Tweel. Yeah, Christopher and I are going to be tag teaming back and forth on these reports, but I'm taking the lead on this one. So we went out to RFP to receive bids for the shortcut boardwalk connection. And so we received 2 bids back, And we are looking at awarding to the low bid from Earthform at $75,400 plus applicable taxes. And in addition, there would be an amount of $2,500 plus applicable taxes from CADC for the engineering, project management, and professional services. Just a note on this that I'll be reaching out to the province because it was under the financial implications that the government would potentially cost share 50% of this project. So I'll be reaching out to them to see if they will cover 50%, and hopefully they will. And we'll proceed forward with the resolution to council.
The floor is open.
Mr. Chair, I read the package yesterday, and I did reach out to Minister Rob Lance because he did speak to Councillor Beck about this cost sharing. And I also follow up with the text, so I'll be continuing that today to get some indication from his department where they are with assisting the city on financing this project. Thank you. I move it.
Second, Councillor Bernard? All in favor? Motion carried. Our second report is the awarding of the RFQ for 3 basketball pads, Skyview Park, Evergreen Park, Southview Park. I'm not sure who's taking, Christopher? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So, as stated in the report, we went out to RFQ. We sent the proposal to 5 paving companies on the island, and we received 2 bids back for each of the projects. And we are recommending to award the first basketball pad to Island Construction, which will go into Skyview Park. The second to Hines Paving for Evergreen Park, and then the third to Hines Paving again for a basketball pad in Southview Park.
Can you, Christopher, can you just give us, because there's people watching the meeting, can you give them an indication where these parks are? For example, like where
In
they're-
Charlottetown?
Yeah, where they're at geographically. You know, what communities are they in?
No, you go ahead.
Chair Twill. So Southview was out off of Lower Malpeck Road. So it's, I guess it'd be West Royalty in that ward there. The second one is Skyview Park is in next to Atlantic Road. So it's, I guess that'd be Ward, I'm not sure, Ward 5, Kevin's ward. And yeah, City Charlton, and the other one is, Evergreen Park, which would be out, it's off Evergreen Drive, but it'd be out off Lower Malpeck Road as well. It's in that area as well, so.
Okay, floor is open.
Mr. Chair, Skyview, Ward 5, Evergreen, Ward 8, Southview, Ward 8. But I want to say that this will be good news for the PEI Basketball Association. I know that they were pushing for this. And I did attend on this Saturday past, the opening of the Tracy Ellsworth basketball court at West Kent. And I know there's a cost to it, Mr. Chair, but if I could just go through the chair to Frank or Christopher. Are we looking at fencing all the way around? What they did at West Kent, they only went halfway on both ends of the court, so are we looking at fencing? Because an issue with outdoor basketball is, if no fencing around, you're always chasing the ball, but I just want to find out where are we at.
Your worship, so with regards to that, no, we don't fence in our basketball pads, and they're more than basketball pads, they're actually multi-sport pads. So we don't, it would be too costly, and it makes them, when we have a larger official basketball pads, official size court, we do look at fencing those in, but for all the other small ones, it would make them look like cages because they're not large enough, so, and they're neighborhood parks, so.
Thank you. Moved.
Moved? Second? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Our next, excuse me, our next report is approval for the terms of reference, I believe, for the Youth Engagement Committee. Who's got that one? Christopher, take it away.
All right, thank you, Chair. So this is just a update to our terms of reference for the Youth Engagement Committee. The original terms of reference were only 3 or 4 lines, but we did have an updated terms of reference that was done by our Assistant Program Coordinator, Brianna McDonald, sort of around the same time that the Seniors Engagement Committee terms of reference were updated, but these ones were not approved at the time, so this is just to bring forward the updated terms of reference, had to have that approval, and to also note that the committee reports to the Parks and Recreation Leisure Activities Committee, where originally it was listed under the Intergovernmental Affairs and Communications Committee.
The floor is open.
Mr. Chair, thanks to Christopher and also the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee, the terms of references in the background documents are quite comprehensive, so I think we have a good idea what their mandate is or what the role and responsibilities are going forward. So, yeah, I think I'll move it.
Second, motion. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Our next report is the renewal of the Charlottetown Yacht Club license agreement and issue city's capital partnership funding for the Charlottetown Yacht Club, more specifically the seawall reconstruction project. Okay, Frank?
All right, thank you, Chair Twill. So you'll see the report in your package, and I'll just do a quick highlight review of it. Previously, we've had a license agreement with CYC for 10 years, and this is renewing the license agreement, but also issuing the capital partnership funding for the CYC seawall restoration project, which council approved in our capital budget. So we're looking at renewing this for another 10 years. It would start as of this year and go to 2023. You'll see the updated agreement in your package. And along with this agreement, we're indicating that council approves issuing the capital contribution of $318,000 to the CYC seawall reconstruction project. The work is underway. I believe it has started. They're getting material and supplies in. And this upgrade to the seawall will mean that the actual launch area will be there for many years to come. We'll be entering a 10-year agreement, and it would be expected we would renew that 10-year agreement in the future. As part of this as well, the city, their CYC is actually has made available a berth spot for the city's fire rescue boat at this location. It wasn't moved there this year, but it will be moved there in future years. And then council approved, the capital budget. Oh, it did get there, sorry. My mistake, it did actually get moved there. And what else was there here? Yeah, so I think that's pretty straightforward. As part of the agreement, it indicates that the city will have temporary sort of ownership of the section where the floating dock is going. So that maintains that we'll have that, and it allows us to do our capital contribution to this well-needed project that CYC is moving forward with. So,
Frank, just a couple of questions. If you look at this license agreement compared to the previous one, what's different? If you do a comparison, what would be different in this license agreement, the Charlottetown Yacht Club, versus the one we had previously?
So Chair, Twill, so there's only minor updates. The updates, of course, is relating to the Municipal Government Act that's now in place versus the old Charlton Act previously. And then there is, of course, the years and dates. Those have changed throughout the document. And the only other real change is the actual, and I believe it is still highlighted in your actual document, under 9, where we put 9.01, in addition to the license fee as set out in section 3.01. The city shall pay fees related to the 2024-2025 seawall reconstruction capital project, reinstallation, removal, and storage of the paddle launch area as follows. And that is for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. The city shall pay $318,000 to CYC as a one-time lump sum partnership capital funding for the Charlottetown Yacht Club seawall reconstruction project. And for this city capital contribution to this project, CYC agrees to grant the city temporary ownership of this portion of the seawall for the purpose of installing a paddle craft launch area for the term of this agreement. So that is really the only, with the exception of, and then a couple other changes to just updating the contact information. But those would be the main changes, and this agreement is based off the previous agreement that was in place and whatnot. So there's.
Thank you, Frank. So where the launching pad is going to be is not where it was previously. And having said that,
No, you're, sorry, Chair Twill, it is going in the same location.
it's going in the same location?
Yeah, they're redoing the whole seawall, so they're upgrading that. It's going in the same location. We're going to be spelling it out in this agreement, though, that we will have temporary ownership of it so that we can make the capital contribution to this project.
Okay. So my second question is, what are the vessels that are launched from this particular launching pad? If you were to look at, like, what will we tell the residents in terms of the city having ownership of that amenity down at the yacht club? So what are the vessels that are actually launched or permitted to launch from that launching pad?
Well, it's a paddlecraft launch area, so it's anything that is canoe, kayak, anything that is propelled by the individual, by self-propelled service. It's not anything motorized, so it's all self-propelled types of activities.
And will there be signage indicating that this is an amenity that's owned by the city of Charlottetown, and here are the permitted uses?
Yeah, so it's in cooperation with CYC. So CYC is granting a license agreement to the city for us to utilize this space for this small craft launch area. There is signage that's put there in partnership with CYC. We work with them to do the wording and whatnot, and there has been signing there over the last 10 years of the agreement.
Just want to make sure that when
Yeah.
that new amenity comes in, we have signage there that clearly illustrates City of Charlottetown, and here are the permitted uses, what's eligible, what's not eligible. Thank you.
Yeah. And just one other comment. I know within the agreement there, the Schedule A, B, and C were not included in the agreement, and those will be included in the agreement before it goes to council.
Okay, floor is open. Oh, Councilor Bernard?
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Just wondering, so this is the slip when you come into CYC, it's the first one on the right-hand side.
Yes, it is, yeah, when you walk in. I just had to
Gotta get
visualize
back
myself
tonight.
walking down, yeah. So it is the first when you go in, it's on the right, and it's sort of the first right on the left. It goes down, and then you'll see the,
Like most of the slips are straight up. This is the first one to the right. When you
yes.
come in there, yeah. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had this conversation before, I thought, going back a number of years, I think Eddie Rice brought this up, and I thought the city owned that portion. And that's where the agreement first came, that we were able to use it as slip. And I guess from that, I'm wondering, and there's an agreement now in place, and I'm just wondering, Frank, why they can't, like, why is it just paddlecraft? Why can't they use that slip that's there for, like, if somebody has a small speedboat or whatever they want to launch?
Councillor Twill, so yes, or sorry, Councillor Bernard, sorry about that. So yeah, so the city doesn't own this area, it's owned by CYC. There is, I think, some strip of land that's where the parking lot is that could be owned by the city, but. We did,
Yeah,
okay, we did.
And that's where I thought the agreement came from in the first place.
So yeah, so we don't, but with regards to motorized craft coming from this area, it's just not a large enough area. This area is used for small watercraft. It's in close to the water, and it would be way too congested. And how do you monitor that? There's other areas where boats can launch from if they have so. But yeah, it's just for small craft.
So we would have paid for the floating dock.
Correct. Yeah. So we have that infrastructure there right now.
Councillor Twill?
Yeah, so it unloads on the right-hand side here. It comes down.
The slip on the right-hand side,
Up here, you mean?
the slip that, if you go down to the yacht club, the slip is for motorized
Yeah,
vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the slip for us is on the left-hand side in front of the clubhouse.
But it's more in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more. Yeah. So I was.
You know
It's
where
not
it is,
on the
Councillor
right
Twill?
side. Right?
What?
Yeah, so it's not on the right side, that's for motorized, you're correct. It's in the middle, it's on the left hand, right behind the actual,
Yeah.
right inside, right behind the clubhouse, or the
Yeah, Dean just
CYC.
showed me there.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, and that's why you're saying it's congested, because of where that one is, as far as getting any motorized vehicles up and down, it's just,
It's
because there's a
the,
slip there, right?
yeah, so, but the actual agreement is for, you wouldn't want motorized leaving from where you actually have a canoe kayak, so it's to single, this is an area for small, self-propelled crafts to leave from. And it is quite busy when, in the summertime, when there's a lot of users.
So do we have a location in Charlottetown yet where people can launch? Other than Peaks Key?
I'm gonna have to take that back under advisement.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Councillor Twill, you're familiar with the boat slip, right, at the yacht club? Yeah, so that's the end, at the end of Parnell Street. You go right down. And Frank, what Councillor Bernard is asking has been asked for a number of years about a slip. We did have one, and that was down at Pally's Wharf, if you recall, down by the Queen Charlotte Armories. When they built Pally's Wharf, it was gone. It was built on and no more access to it. But when you talk about the seawall, what is temporary ownership? I've never heard of that term.
And they're looking after all the maintenance associated with it, but it's just that we have the single use of this area. So this is they're gonna allow us that we're constructing this for our use for this period of the agreement.
And-
Like, I can change the wording, but it was felt, CYC felt that was agreeable, because really it's for this single use of installing the paddlecraft.
No, Frank, I'm not asking you to change
Yeah.
anything, Mr. Chair. All I'm asking is, I've never heard of the term, but look, where we can collaborate with partners in the city, I'll be leading the parade on that, because I think that's what we have to do more of. But this came up during the capital budget discussion, because there were some projects that if we didn't own it, we weren't contributing. But temporary ownership to me is not a way around this. It's, look, we're collaborating. We're working with the Charlottetown Yacht Club. They're providing a service for not only our youth, but tourists that come into the city. Anyone that wants to use the yacht club, if they're members, of course. But other than that, what we have down there with that slip for the canoes and paddle boats, great idea. I think, Councillor Twill, it's been in place for, 14+ years, Frank?
It's been in place, this is the 11th year. It was in previously unofficially, but it's been in place for.
Yeah. And I want to thank the department for moving on this, but again, when you look at capital investments, we don't always have to own it, right? Because this is a clear example of it. But if we're working with our partners in the community to make the city a better place to live, raise a family, play, work, I'm a huge supporter, I'm sure, just like yourself, Councillor Twill. Thank you. And I'll move this.
I do want to bring to everyone's attention that when we were going through the exercise of installing the floating dock in Victoria Park, and reference was made to the launching pad at the Charlottetown Yacht Club, a lot of residents of Charlottetown were totally unaware that we have a launching pad down at the Charlottetown Yacht Club. And I would venture to say that I would think the majority of our residents are still, are still unaware that we have a launching pad down at the Charlottetown Yacht Club. So I would think that, once everything is installed, properly installed, and we have that launching pad clearly identified that this is the ownership of the city of Charlottetown, and again, I'll reiterate, here are the permitted uses. I think we need to embark upon a public relations campaign to inform all the residents of Charlottetown that the opportunities exist down at the Charlottetown Yacht Club for launching of vessels like you mentioned, Frank, canoes and paddle boats and other vessels that are similar. It might have been there for a dozen years or longer. A lot of residents in this city were unfamiliar, and I'll reiterate, unfamiliar, that we own that launching pad and that the opportunities existed for the residents to be able to get out and use that venue. So I think we have some work to do in that regard.
Thank you, Chair Twill. So we will do a campaign in the spring, but we do right now, it is put in our program brochure annually. It is put on the city's website, and we do notify the public at the start of the year, but we'll try to have a bit more of a public notice at the start of the year that this is available to the public, along with other water access services we have as well.
And another, just to follow up Councilor Bernard's point too, I'd like to look at other potential launching pad sites in the city of Charlottetown, what the possibilities are. We keep hearing about partnership, what potential partnerships there are throughout the city. So maybe we can do an in-depth analysis of that and have a future discussion here at the committee level. That was a good point, Councilor Bernard, that you raised. And I know, from time to time we get questioned about other locations within the city and other possibilities. So I think the time is right to commence that research.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll move it.
Okay, move. Second.
Resolution's on the floor, I just want to say
Resolution's on the floor, all in favor?
one point here. So part of the Eastern Gateway Waterfront Plan,
Yeah.
it's to extend the Charlottetown Event Grounds to make it I believe, a area to launch boats, but I don't think it'll be launching motorboats because it's more about walk in, walk out, or walk in and kayak out of the area. Just going down the road, Frank, is there a way that we can, and through the chair to Frank, is there a way that we can have a discussion with the CYC or Quartermaster Marine about providing access to the water for the boat users, whether it's motorized or non-motorized, for the city of Charlottetown residents? Because you hear it a lot, and I know after this meeting, anyone that's watching this live stream will be saying, what about our access to the water for my boat or my neighbor's boat? Is there some way we can work on that? Can I just ask that, Mr. Chair?
Your worship, I'll have to take that under advisement, and we'll look into it further, and we'll get back to you.
Sounds like Richard McEwen, review and advise.
Frank, and if you don't mind too, I'll up the ante. I know that I've talked to members of the fishing industry as well, people that, members of the industry that would like to be able to launch somewhere along the harbor, whether it's, whether it's down at Peace Key or Naval Reserve or whatever the case may be. I have been approached over the years. I think it's a good time to conduct that research as well to see what the opportunities are. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to, motion. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. We're going to move on to request from CADC to create a direct link through Confederation Landing. Frank, fire away.
All right, you'll see the report in your package there that details this request. I'll just give a high-fly review of it. So we received requests from CADC that they wanted the city to consider an idea that came from the waterfront merchants, which was to create a more defined linkage through Confederation Landing Park, connecting Founders Food Hall and Market and Peaks Wharf merchants. CADC is very keen to assist and would be the lead on this initiative. CADC, of course, works continually with waterfront merchants to think of a more holistic approach to be able to market the waterfront as one location using Wayfair signs to guide visitors and the public in this area. So the idea is to create an improved connection that will be obvious, that will draw locals and visitors to want to travel between these two locations. And you'll see there's a map in your package that shows the two locations, which from Lower Prince Street on the top of the park, right through to the to Great George, the bottom there, the pathway, the brick pathway that goes along the side of the park. So it would be an obvious connection between these two areas. And then they also, with regards to that, the infrastructure, so to be what they'd look at is to upgrade the infrastructure. The proposed structure could consist of timber frames spaced out the length of the path with strings of lights running on top. Staff have reviewed the request, the initial request with a few ideas, and we generally we support the idea, and creating a more defined linkage. But just with some areas that we noted that we need to consider during the design process. And that is limiting the impacts on the trees and the roots, the existing lamppost locations, any buried infrastructure in the area, upgrading the base material, expanding the width of the pathway, winter maintenance if that was being considered, snow removal, the impacts of salt on plantings that are close by, the drilling of the post holes, and the type of material used to construct this infrastructure. So that was just some areas that we want them to focus on. So it would be anticipated that if council supports this, that CADC would work with the department on developing a design, and that it would very likely, they would be looking potentially for some partnership funding on this project and would be coming back to the city during the capital budget process.
Well, it sounds good in theory. I guess the first question I have is, would this compromise the green space at Confederation Landing in any which way, shape, or form? Will it alter the aesthetics and the ambiance that's there now? That's my first question.
So it would be anticipated, we'd be working with CADC, that they would come up with a design that would be very park suitable. It's not going to make it a commercialized link between the two areas, but that they would work with, as we indicated, some of the areas that we want them to keep in mind during this process, any negative impacts on trees, any negative on the roots. So we want to keep it that it looks park-like, and it would actually not damage any of the current, trees and lamp posts, the structures that are in the park.
Yes, but I'm just wondering, again, I'll emphasize, is it going to compromise, the oval that's there now the green space, okay, so I don't know.
Sorry, Chair Twell. So we'd be looking at staying within the footprint of where the pathway is. So it's a pathway that runs on the top.
Right.
That runs through. So, can we widen that a little bit without impacting the trees? Can we upgrade the base? Because the bricks do tend to move there, like we upgraded the bricks on the right side going down to the water.
Right.
So we would look at like maintaining, there is a design for that park that we'd want to sort of stay within that design concept and not,
That Confederation Landing, that was an award-winning architectural design. I forget the name of the firm, but I mean, that was award-winning back when that was back in 1994, when that park opened. I was there for that opening. So Mayor Tex McDonald was the mayor, and he did the official opening along with the premier. It was a national design award-winning contract that was given to that firm that come up with design for that park. So as long as we're not deviating in any which way, shape, or form, I'd certainly be willing to look at it. But those are my initial thoughts at this time. The floor is open.
I don't think they're looking to change anything.
Well, I don't.
They're just improving on the trail.
I know, but I guess what happens with some of these designs, you don't really know until you see it unfold before your very eyes, and then you're thinking, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? So I just wanted to, what do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Anyway, through the chair to Frank. So Frank, because it seems a little more in-depth than I expected, but there's a trail already there, correct?
there is a pathway that runs
pathway
there,
or
an
a
actual,
walkway?
yeah, a walkway that runs there right there now.
And it has the light standards that are there now to guide you through.
Yeah, it's only about 6 feet wide, so it's not very wide, but it's also limited in how much you could potentially expand it because of the actual trees that are on both sides of it, and
So-
also the electrical light
So what you're
poles.
looking, what you're proposing then is to widen what's currently there and connect it into the sidewalk by Peaks Key.
So they're looking at making it more defined, whether that means widen it. Our footprint might not allow us to widen it very much, so that's what we'll have to actually work with the ADC to sort of discuss what are some ideas that can be done without impacting the trees.
So if you're not widening it and the walkway's already there, what actually are you asking to be done? Because the walkway's already there.
So they're looking at actually adding an actual possible timber frame structure around it so that it actually looks more, I wish I had attached a picture, an image, that it's, yeah, so I will give you an image they sent to us that showed sort of what they were proposing. But yeah, so it's an infrastructure that would have a structural frame, timber frame, and then you'd actually have lights that'd be strung from it.
Oh,
So-
I thought you were talking about like a boardwalk.
Yeah, so it's.
Timber
it-
frame.
Yeah,
You
no,
want- you
no,
want to
sorry,
have like a-
timber frame structure, yeah, so
Okay.
I'll provide an image that'll, in the document that goes to council, so they'll understand it.
Okay, no concern about graffiti written all over it? After it's constructed, if they go that route?
There's potential for graffiti to be put on anything we build, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
I don't know, yeah. There's other structures in that
That's a
park.
pretty big wall.
Well, no, it's not
Anyway.
a, no, it's not a wall, so it's, I think the biggest thing, yeah, well, it goes up, yeah.
But
it
from
goes-
the parking lot or anywhere else, it's going to look like a wall. Because it's going to go from Peaks Key over to Lower Prince Street.
So here, I'll show you an image, because what it is actually just an actual frame that goes up like that on one spot, and then you'd string lights to the next frame.
Oh, so it's
and-
not enclosed?
It's not enclosed, no,
Oh, okay.
no, it's completely open, it's
Okay.
completely open. I apologize about that, I did have a visual, and I should have put that
Yeah,
in the
I wouldn't mind
document.
having a look at the visual when you get it, Frank, please. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up to Councilor Bernard. Again, that's why I like to use Google Maps here. It's clearly delineated here in the Google map. There is an existing path, as you said there, Councilor Bernard, and it's an A frame. So Frank, do you have an image? Can't beat the old paper, huh? So, Mr. Chair, So it's just A-frames stretching across from Peaks Key to Founder's Hall. And I believe they want to light it, and the post they'll be using, no, I've seen it, yeah. The post they'll be using will be 4x4 post. It- Yeah, but I 4x4, won't be 2x4, I'll tell you that. But just want to make sure that there will be no wall. These
Yeah,
A-
no, I see the picture
these
now.
A-frames
I
will
see
be
what he's talking about now.
separated maybe
Yeah.
by 5 or 6 feet or less. And
Actually,
you'll
that,
just,
that
again,
probably would be nice. when you put
and
some
light
lights
it in
around
the evening.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So with more lights, more security. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
I'll move it.
Makes sense.
So just in addition to that too, so we're looking at, like I said, option a timber frame, but there could be other material considered as well. It could be a more steel frame structure too, because it is in an area where it does receive a lot of weather. So we'd look at other material options that will stand up to the weather as well, so.
We all know there's timber structures down there. Like the pavilion is a timber structure, and so is the pavilion right on the water's edge. And it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I move it.
So the motion is to look at this, right? Are we approving the structure?
So, Chair Tweel, so it's just that to inform council that we received your request, and the council supports CADC's request to proceed with the developing a design in consultation with the department that will create a link between Founders Food Hall and Market and Peaks Wharf. And that the design is a suitable design. So once it's done, we'll be bringing this design back to the committee to look at, saying, here's what we've come up for. They'll be looking for a potential capital request before anything moves forward. If the city doesn't like the design, then very likely we wouldn't support it during the capital budget process, so.
Okay.
Just so we support them.
Okay.
It's our property.
I'm okay with that. So will they be engaging with landscape architects that have the same credentials and qualifications for the people that were responsible for the design of Confederation Landing, I wonder?
Yes, they'd be consulting with the necessary expertise to develop a proper design for this area.
Okay, I'll entertain it. Move? Vote, second? Motion carried?
Yes, sir.
Okay, overview of Victoria Park overflow and parkage drainage improvement project. Christopher, I believe you're taking that one on?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this report brought forward, it was mentioned at our September 5th regular meeting by Councillor Matart under new business that he would like to discuss the improvements that we made to the overflow parking area, green space area behind the City Diamond in Victoria Park. So basically, as an overview for this, the green space was previously utilized as an unofficial overflow parking area. And over the years, there became issues with the drainage. It was problematic, especially after heavy rainfall or any rainfall. And then water would accumulate in the middle of the grassed area, in particular in the low spots, and then would not drain or soak up into the ground or the soil. And then the water would flow into the wooded area along the trails, causing inadequate drainage, which would damage and kill trees. The water backup also created drainage issues for the ball field, City Diamond, and in the batting cage. So with the recent redesign, and there are some pictures attached in the package, the area was elevated in the center and added swales on both sides to facilitate proper drainage away from the tree line, ball field, and batting cage. The remaining open space can now be utilized for overflow parking, and will also have access to the planters that are in there that were used in the previous area of the park. And although the change has created some frustration among ball field users and spectators, it was necessary to address the drainage issue. And moving forward, parents, players, and spectators will need to plan accordingly and utilize the alternative parking if the overflow lot is full. And the department staff will consider removing some of the stones in the upper corner of the park in the northeast side to allow some parking behind the right field fence. So we were waiting for grass to grow in that area, which it is now. So we will move some of those rocks and install a gate in that area so that if it rains, we can block it off. But during high usage in the park, we can open that and kind of control that area. And then there are also plans to post some signage to let people know where other areas are for parking, which would be the Arsenault Building and the provincial government parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Next item?
I will ask, just have one question.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
And Christopher, you said that in the future, there may be an opportunity to put a fence up and move the rocks and go into the next, where the grassed area is, I guess. What opportunities are there to make that into further parking permanently? As opposed to putting a gate up and open once in a while? What's an opportunity to make it similar to what you just did, only extend it out farther?
So there, I'll answer that. There's very limited opportunity because it is an elevated, a raised area that if it becomes too compact and if people get in there, it's the drainage. We're not going to be able to control the drainage. It's the highest, but it's not very wide either. And it's used more or less, what we're looking at, just putting up a post and chain where utility vehicles go through. If there was a really high, big event that we needed a few additional parking, we could open it up and allow it during that event. But we think once people get used to it, we've been monitoring it here right now, and I know we haven't had any recent rain events, but we want to see how this actual works. But we have seeded this area and made this area. Up in that far corner too, you're fairly close to the right field fence and whatnot as well, so.
So in the event at some point that we get the land where the provincial hospital was, that ever gets donated to us, there is opportunity to expand that park lot at that point, yes or no?
There could be potential opportunity to have additional parking there. There was also talk about connecting, having an in and out for Victoria Park because it is so busy. So it'd be nice if there was another way of getting into the park as well, so.
All right, thank you.
Frank, just on the new parking lot and the stormwater management plan, and I think you explained it, but I'll ask the question. Is there any way you can expand the footprint? Like, it seems to be, as you drive into the parking lot and you go towards the back, it's very narrow there compared to what it was before, like, you're parking your vehicles. Is there any way you can, if you're close to the tree line, and I think maybe you've addressed it, but there's quite a gap there between the trees and where the vehicles actually park. Is there a possibility that the vehicles can park closer as opposed to where they're parking now?
So one of the actual design of this had to be that we couldn't dig into we were trying to prevent a whole lot of water going into the wooded area as well. Natural flow was one thing. So we ended up having to not affect the root systems, we had to come away from the tree line. We dug a dry pit that has gravel in there, has a capacity to the water to drain into it and soak away into the ground. So we had to stay away so far from that. It required a fairly substantial area to drain the water into because of this, Brighton Road. This area is not tied into Brighton Road. It's lower than Brighton Road, so there's no way of draining into any of the draining system with the city has for stormwater management. So we had to create our own ability to accommodate water in this area. And previous years, we've had a high rainfall or even any rainfall at all. That area has stayed extremely wet. The water wouldn't drain away because the ground was so compacted. So this is allowing us to actually elevate it. We actually now have area where the ball field water can drain off into it, the parking lot area, and then it can all drain around and just disseminate into the ground versus going into the actual treat area as well and create potential flooding in there.
question before we go. Was there any loss of parking spaces?
I guess sort of the answer was that this wasn't an official parking lot. It was just an overflow area. So we've actually done a more defined parking lot that is now will stand up better to being used as a parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is for your perusal, the seniors engagement committee meeting minutes. Any questions?
Oh, Mr. Chair, update on capital projects. It's not part of the package, Frank, is?
No, that's future?
So Chair Twill, so it is on your agenda there. So it's just more or less that just became available there about 10 minutes before the meeting. It is in your package there now. I will allow you folks to review that on your own if you have any questions. I'm just going to mention one project.
Yep.
The Simmons Sports Center replacement project.
Looking great.
It's anticipated that that facility will be open, the arena portion, on October 14th.
Good.
Things are moving along. We're, of course, running into a few little hiccups, but we're trying to get through those. And then we've done extremely well on the playground installs this year with regards to, we have 3 structures left to be installed. The East Roley Lagoon property has been, all the playground equipment has been moved into that location right now, and we're working on some pathway development. And the Victoria Park Shoreline tender just closed on Friday, so we're in the process of reviewing that right now. And then the other one that's going on is the Victoria Park Tennis Court reconstruction, started on Friday. So we've got a lot of projects on the go. Our staff have been doing a great job, keeping a lot of balls in the air to move these projects along. So big thanks to all the staff that have been involved in these projects.
I see I was down there the other night watching, or looking at the reconstruction of the tennis courts and the heavy artillery that's there, so it's a big project, no doubt about it. So I think the tennis community is going to be very pleased when that's reconstructed. Councilor Bernard, you have a question?
Thank you. Just want to make comment on what the manager just brought up there, the new East Royalty District Park. The pieces of equipment have been moved in there and they did a fantastic job. It's really well done. So I just wanted to make comment on that. Thank you.
Just want to follow up, Mr. Chair. Frank, I know the tender closed on Friday, I believe, for the Victoria Park project. So will we have a resolution, not for tomorrow, but probably the Thursday, fourth Tuesday in October?
So you're referring to the Victoria Park Shoreline project?
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. I haven't had an opportunity to actually look at the closing. It just closed. I've high level seen it, so our intention would be to bring it to a special meeting of the committee and then to council the last Tuesday of the month,
Yeah.
or the second last Tuesday, I think it is.
Fourth Tuesday of the month, that's great.
Correct.
Okay. And again, with the other projects going on with the upgrades to our playgrounds around Charlottetown, I was speaking to some residents out there in Ward 10, and they were quite excited by the redevelopment of the East Royalty wastewater lagoon. So, yeah, a lot of progress is being made. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Just one question before you wrap up. The capital projects you were talking about, I don't see it in my report. Do you have a copy of it to come to us?
It was just actually, DL
on
just
that.
uploaded. I was delayed in getting it
Oh,
completed.
just uploaded? Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I was did not have time to get it finished before the package went out.
That's all right, thanks.
Thank you.
We have the 2 committee reports from the Seniors Engagement Committee and the Youth Engagement Committee. Any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Chair, I attended the seniors' dinner, what I refer to that, DL? At the Jack Blanchard Hall this past Saturday. I believe, DL, there were over 130 seniors, and there was a waiting list. And the members of the Senior Engagement Advisory Committee, there was Darlene Hughes, Jacinta Campbell, and Joanne Ings, and included in that group were the hockey players representing the Team PEI, 4 young, 15-year-olds, 13-year-olds? I think DL's son was there. And these 4 youth were in a sea of seniors, including myself. They did a great job, and hats off. And Tracy was there, Jeff was there. Did I miss any other staff, Tracy? I think that covered it, and DL. So it was a great presentation. Big thanks, big shout out to 4S. The turkey dinner was, there wasn't too much left, so that was a good sign. And again, a lot of work being put forward by the Senior Engagement Advisory Committee. So kudos to the chair and all the members of that committee and the staff that were present. They're waiting now for Christmas to come along. Thank you.
Okay, move for adjournment? Move? Second. Thank you.